What's up, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chaos Muffins. I'm here to bring you my fortune guide that I delayed oh so very long. I've been promising this thing for about 4 months now, so again, I apologize for it taking so long, but it's finally here. I'll be going over both some basic and some advanced fortune stuff. I'm going to try to share a majority of my knowledge about fortune, so you can either pick up and play her, or if you already play fortune, you can improve your game as her. Keep in mind, I'm not the best talker, so a lot of things are probably going to sound awkward, or you're not going to be able to hear me very well, or you're going to see a lot of cuts and edits and stuff, so just bear with me. And hope you have fun watching this guide. I hope it teaches you something. I hope I learned something as well from it. And yeah, let's go. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is that this guide isn't exactly for completely new beginner players. But again, if you want to learn fortune and you're new to the game, I still suggest that you watch this to learn some stuff about fortune. But again, I won't be going over basic and advanced mechanics like how IPS works, how undizzy works, how push block art canceling works. There are plenty of other guides you can look those up at, so be sure to check those out. If you just ask me in the comments below, I can direct you to the place. But yeah. Yeah. Alright, so on to the actual fortune stuff now. So Miss Fortune itself is a pressured rushdown based character and she also has some unique pump mechanics, which I'll go into later. She boasts things such as high mobility, high damage, great reset potential, great defensive options, and she's also a puppet character, but she's nowhere along the lines of Carl or Eddie from BlazBlue and Guilty Gear respectively. A lot of people think that she's a hard character. No, she is not a hard character to play, so don't feel intimidated if you're trying to pick her up. Keep in mind that while Miss Fortune is often considered the best character in the game, she does have her weaknesses. For instance, her normals aren't exactly all that great, so she suffers a bit in the neutral game, especially in the air-to-air game, which is very important in the game when aerial footsies are key. But some of her weaknesses she makes up with her head-off mechanic, but again, we'll go into the head-off mechanics later. I'd say if you're looking for a character who is really going to rush down and mix up your opponent while not suffering too terribly on defense, in fact Miss Fortune is one of the best has some of the best defensive options in the game, also boasts great mobility, then check this character out. She can fit at any slot in the team, first, second, or third, spans meter well, builds it well. If you learn her well, she'll take you far, so yeah. So Miss Fortune is one of the most mobile characters in the game and is key to her gameplay. Going to be moving around a lot to both get a hit and to avoid getting hits. So she has a backdash, forward dash, double jump, super jump. She also has her Fiber Uppercut, which is her DP. Using the follow-ups, you can throw yourself quickly into the air, forward and upwards. It sends you further than a regular super jump, and also up higher faster than a regular super jump. As you can see, this barely crosses over parasol, same distance, sends you further. So keep this in mind. Going to be using all of your options very often. And you also have your axe kick, your El Gato, which is quarter circle back and kick. This is unique in that it's your only move that stops your air momentum. If you use it while you're going upwards, it'll stop your momentum for a bit, send you upward quickly. If you use it when falling downwards, stop your momentum, fall quickly. So yeah, this is something to keep in mind to alter the way you come down on your opponent. And again, you're going to be making a lot of usage of all of your movement options. One thing to note about her forward dash is that it runs very low to the ground. So you can duck things like certain projectiles if you're up close, certain jabs if they're high enough, but just keep in mind that you won't dodge everything. It's a bit difficult to show you how you should move around in just a simple tutorial and stuff like that, so I'll just show you certain match videos how you should be moving around. Again, use your movement options to get around the opponent, don't get hit, except for certain projectiles and stuff like that. Just dance around your opponent to get a hit, avoid getting hit, unlike what just happened to me here against the computer. We're moving around a lot, so be sure to learn your movement, get it down. If there's anything that you feel like you need to work on in training mode, work on your movement. I also have lots of match videos, so you can check those out, especially my set versus Wing Zero. Check out how I moved around there, and how if I got outmoved or outmaneuvered, I'd usually end up losing the match. So again, keep your movement in mind, use it a lot, move around quickly, effectively. Don't make useless movements, even though I make a lot of useless movements, but move around as effectively as possible. So in a sense, I'm kind of glad that I put off this guide for as long as I did, since Mike put in this really sexy, neat little frame data thing at the bottom. What you see on the left is their move startup. You see on the right is the advantage you have on whiff, block, all that. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that I put the guide out for so long since you put that in. So yeah, Mike C, you are base. We love you. Appreciate your hard work. Thank you for this. It makes things much easier for me to show off. So yeah, since we just covered movement, we're gonna go to the Fortune's normals, what I just showed off to you here. We're gonna start with standing normals. Like I said earlier, Miss Fortune doesn't have all that great normals. She has some low range stuff with little priority, so she loses out to a lot of stuff in a neutral game when she tries to go for trades and stuff. While normals aren't exactly all that good, she is good in close up, especially with things like her jab, crouching light kick, stuff like that. So she'll lose out a lot in mid-range to long-range game, except for when she has her head off, which again we'll go into later. But when she's close up, she's quite strong. Yeah, standing normals. So first off is her standing light punch. 5 frames on block plus 5 hits mid. You're going to be using this move a lot as it's really fast. It's the fastest jab in the game at 5 frames, so you can use it to jab out a lot of pressure. It does not whiff on crouchers, I believe. Let me check right here. Let me actually crouch. Yeah, it does not whiff on crouchers, so it's really good move to throw out. Going to be using this move a lot. Again, it's really fast, has a really nice hitbox, but it is not disjointed, so keep that in mind. You can still lose out to a lot of stuff if you try to use it at basically at a range where you shouldn't be using it at. Again, you can pocket off a lot of stuff with it, so very important normal. Standing medium punch. With the head on, it becomes a drill attack, multi-hit, dust chip. Yeah, you're not going to be using this normal much. It's basically just combo fodder. The chip is nice, but it isn't all that great. It's only 455 damage. With the head off, this move changes into a straight jab. This is also a combo fodder, though it is +1 on block. It's 9 frame start, it's not all that great. Then there's her standing hard punch. Starts up 60 frames, -7 on block. It makes for a pretty decent poke, as nobody can really punish it on block since you're so far away. Has pretty good uses in combos, does pretty good amount of damage. It's also good for starting your counter hit combos if your opponent does an unsafe move. So it's also very good normal to use. Standing light kick, don't use this. Just don't. There's no real use for it except for maybe in combos. One real use I can think of is for kicking the head away, but again, you have your crouching light kick for that, so don't use standing. Because it's 2 hits, use the confirm off of. It's only -3 on block, so you can cancel into stuff like Eureka for it to be +0. But we'll go into specials later. So yeah, this is very important. It's very good in combos. It also moves you closer to your opponent. But again, you move it back to your original position. So like if you were to do crouching light kick, standing medium kick, and 2 launcher. Then there's our standing hard kick, which is our new move, is the Wheel of Fortune. I'm so glad Mike named it that. Starts from 16 frames, -6 on block, so it's advised that you don't end your block strings in that, because you're not likely to get punished, as -6 is really hard to punish that, as the fastest jab is only 5 frames, and only 2 characters have that. But again, it's not advised that you enter block strings in that, go into a special Rekka. I'm not going to be using this much in block strings for reasons I just said earlier. It has pretty decent range, and is also very good in combos, as on hit, it moves the opponent closer to you, especially in the second hit. So a lot of times I'll cancel the second hit of standing hard kick into a special for combo purposes, but we'll show you that later. Alright, now we're going to go into our crouching normals. First there's Fortune's crouching light punch, active in 6 frames, +4 on block, so it's 1 frame slower than a standing light punch, and also 1 frame less advantageous. One thing important to keep in mind with this normal though is it keeps it very low to the ground. So for instance, while you're crouch blocking that jab, you would end up just blocking it, but if you're doing crouching light punch, you can end up dodging it. It's pretty dumb. Also, but again, you won't be immune to aerial attacks. You'll still get smacked if you just throw it all willy-nilly like. Again, this is still useful for jabbing out of pressure, since it keeps you really low to the ground. It has very short range though, so keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that it hits mid, it does not hit low. So you're not going to be using this in your mix-up, except for maybe tick throws and all and the like. So next up is a crouching light kick, active for 7 frames plus 3 on block. This is going to be your most used normal. This is going to be your main way to start combos and block strings. It is very fast, has a very long reach. In fact, I believe it's the fastest, longest reaching light in the game. So you're going to be using this a lot. You can also use it to catch jump outs since it hits low and all that. Crouching medium punch. This kind of functions as an anti-air since it has a tiny little hitbox at the end of the claws and then those are very low to the ground. It isn't amazing, but it's something, I guess. Crouching medium kick, don't use this. It really has no use. Lows are low to the ground like crouching medium punch, but hitbox isn't that great. And you see those little green squares at the end of her foot, those are areas where she can get hit, as opposed to, yeah. So yeah, don't use this. This is mainly for stretching and for showing off. Next up is a crouching hard punch. Active for 15 frames, hella unsafe on block at -12. It's your launcher. There really isn't that much to say about it. This used to be worse than her launcher in the console versions, but things have been changed recently. So now this is your go-to launcher instead of standing hard kick, which is changed to Wheel of Fortune. Next is her crouching hard kick. It's a sweep, and sweeps aren't all that good in this game, so yeah, tailspin. One thing I forgot to mention is that when Fortune has to head off, she loses her hard punch normals, including her aerial ones. They become ways that she controls the head, so keep that in mind. And also her standing hard kick, instead of becoming the Wheel of Fortune, it becomes her old launcher. So yeah. Light punch. It has a decent hitbox below her, it's really fast. I believe it's active in 6 frames. They're mainly going to be using this for cross-ups. Hits that side, hits there. It's really good normal to use for cross-ups again. Not exactly for air-to-air situations since it is really fast, but it has next to no range, so you're going to lose out to a lot of stuff. Next is her jumping light punch, or jumping light kick more like. Has really good hitbox below her. It's probably going to be one of your most used air normals. This is fast. I think it's 7 or 8 frames active or startup. Again, has a decent hitbox below her. You're going to be using this a lot for fuzzy guards, which you're going to be going over later. And then there's her jumping medium punch. I would say this is your go-to air normal. It's kind of hard to explain why. It has a decent hitbox, decently fast, faster than the heavies, and also has range. So. And also doesn't hit only below her like her jumping light kick, so I would say this is why your go-to air normal. Next up is jumping medium kick. Hits twice, comes up decently fast. Really isn't all that great air-to-air like jumping medium punch, since it doesn't have as large of hitbox. But one thing to note is that it does alter momentum bit and boost you forward, so yeah. You're gonna be using this a lot in certain pressure strings like air dash, jumping light kick, jumping medium kick. That's a triple overhead, both hits hit high, so keep that in mind. Next up is a jumping hard punch. This one for main jump-ins. I wouldn't really use this go air to air either since the hitbox is kinda for air stuff. And it's also slower than jumping medium punch. This normal is also really good for crossing up, since he crosses up here. So again, it's very good for jump-ins, for mix-ups as well. It used to be that if you use jumping hard punch, you got a counter hit that your head would fly off, but that's been since removed, I think since SDE or MDE. Either way, it's gone now, so no need to worry about that anymore. Next up is Fortune's jumping hard kick. It's decently fast at 15 frames, has a little hitbox above it. Gonna be using this a lot in the neutral to space out, keep your opponent at bay. But keep in mind that this move has next to no priority, you'll lose out to a lot of stuff. For example, lose out to Parasol's jumping hard punch, doubles hard punch, and Valentine's hard punch. As you can see, the move became active, but again, since it has no disjointed hitboxes, it loses out to stuff, so be careful when you're using it. But still, you're going to be using it mostly for spacing and keeping your opponent at bay in a neutral game. So it's not a completely useless normal, but just be careful when you decide to use it. Alright, now we're up to Fortune Specials. I'm gonna try to get the section over with quickly so I can get to the real meat and potatoes, catnip and booty milk. Yeah. First off, Rekka. Light punch, active 14 frames. It is absolutely neutral on block, so this is a good way to end your block strings. Yeah. It's increasingly negative on block, even the lights. -5. Goes up to 3 hits. Only gets more negative. Your first hit of your medium Rekka and your hard Rekka are both pretty negative on block, so don't end your block strings with these. Use your light Rekka and only use 1 hit. One thing to note is that your Rekka has 2 different follow-ups. Here's your overhead, which is active in 14 frames, so it's decently slow. 14 frames is pretty good. Also notice that it's +1 on block, so you're free to press buttons afterwards, so mash away. You also have your slide, which you do by pressing down and pressing the kick button after your Rekka. It's -10 on block, so be careful when you're using this, because if your opponent is blocking high, you can maybe get in with it, but if they see the low coming, then yeah, you're getting hit. So be careful with that. Next up is your Fiber Uppercut, which is probably the move that Miss Fortune's most infamous for. It is Miss Fortune's best normal. Thank you, Silver Lopez. Fortune's best special. It is her Dragon Punch, as it leaves her invincible on startup, or at least the heavy kick version does, because y'all got my character nerfed, so hate y'all. It used to be that light kick used to be that the light kick version of Fiber Upper would be your go-to for invincibility. Now it's not the case. Now you're going to be using your hard kick Fiber Upper, so use this for invincibility purposes. It's your DP. Use it a lot. Fiber Uppercut also doubles as a movement option. Again, as I explained earlier, if you press the K button, you'll go into the air, fly up. Yeah. Gonna be using this a lot, so learn to love it and learn to not get yourself killed with it, I guess. It is decently hard to punish on block, especially when the opponent's in the air. Again, of course, if you're right next to them at -20, you're going to get smacked, most likely. So it's not as ridiculous as it used to be, so again, it is a DP, be careful when using it. You will get baited from time to time. One thing to note is that now you have to hit with all hits of the Fiber Uppercut to do the follow-up on hits. It's like for the light kick Fiber Uppercut, this isn't a problem, but for like the heavy, if you get all 3 hits, you can do the follow-up. If you only get 2 hits or 1 hit, you can't do the follow-up. So this is very important to keep in mind. Messes up some combos, or at least makes them harder to do, So next up is your axe kick, your El Gato, of course it'll go back kick, which I explained earlier is good for movement options, but it's also going to be used a lot in your pressure strings. You can do silly things like cross up with it. It autocorrects when you switch sides, so that's really nice. I'm glad Mike's added that in. Gonna be using a lot of combos. Gives an easy OTG, so you can, yeah. Gonna be using this a lot. Light kick pretty fast, medium kick decently fast. The hard kick version, it ground bounces on hit on the grounded opponents, but on an aerial opponent, gives you a slight knockdown for untechable. Gives you an untechable slight knockdown. Like, you can only combo into it from heavy normals, so head off Fortune can't exactly combo into it easily, except for things like, yeah, it's pretty difficult to do. I wouldn't suggest trying it, so you're really not going to get much off of it anyways, the way Undizzy works. So, yeah. So when Fortune takes the head off, her specials kind of change a bit. There are 2 ways to take the head off. First, there's her head roll special. For some reason, it's +1 on block for reasons I would never understand. Considering that it gives you hit invulnerability, as you can see here, goes straight through it like a DP. It is also invincible to grabs early on the animation, but later on the animation she can get grabbed out, as seen here, or here, or here. Yeah, there we go. So she's not completely invulnerable, she can get grabbed out later on in the animation, but you have to be quick about it, and it can't be at the start of the animation, so it's a pretty dumb move, but it's very slow. 30 frames is half a second, decently slow. It isn't as fast as our Fiber Uppercut, but yeah, you can be jumped, so if you're gonna try to bait it, jump it. And there's also her head spike, hits twice. It is used a lot in combos, especially combos that start with the head on. It's also invincible, so you can kind of mash it out a bit in the air, but you're not really going to get that much off of it. Again, it's really important for combos. Yeah. Alright, so with the head off, like I said, Fortress normals and specials change a bit. Her Rekka, she can only do the final hit of it. It's -7 on block just from the light. It's also -7 from the medium for some reason. She loses access to the heavy since it's used for head normal, as I can see here. One thing to also note is that she gains access to her overhead follow-up without the Rekka, so she can just straight up do quarter circle back and kick. This is much slower than her Rekka follow-up when she has the head on and only 25 frames as opposed to 14. It's also -3 on block, so you're not going to be pressing buttons after that. But again, still very good for mixing up your opponent. You can go low twice and then cancel into an overhead, do launch into overhead, stuff like that. But keep in mind, a lot of people don't know about this, but the overhead is slow enough to be mashed out of, especially with DPs and the like. Again, though that partially depends on what you cancel it into. If you do the light into the overhead, you can jab her out most of the time. I guess it depends on your character really though, but everyone can DP or super her out of it, so you can't just exactly throw it around all over the place. And people are actually starting to block this mix up, which makes me really, really sad, but it happens. She also gains access to her slide, active 10 frames -10 on block, so you're still going to get punished. I honestly haven't messed around with this as much. I've seen some Fortune players make good use of it, like Italics before he quit and got a job and his stick broke. Honestly, I haven't messed around with this too much, but it's there. Sends you low to the ground so you can use it to duck under quite a bit of stuff. And yeah, hits low, this hits high. So when Fortune takes the head out, she loses access to her heavy punch attacks, but instead gains new attacks. One of them is the headbutt. Just press the hard punch button, just headbutt. This is really good for keeping your opponent pressured, using the block strings, using sandwich combos. Some of the specials like her sneeze attack, which is DP plus hard punch gets their head off. The head is invincible when she uses a sneeze. Somewhat decent as an anti-air, I guess. Keeps in pretty good block stun, but your opponent can push block the head, so keep that in mind when you're using it. Then there's Fortune's on special, which is cross circle back plus punch. When it hits the opponent, it puts them in a grab state. This is not a grab, this is also not a low, which a lot of people like to think. It just simply hits your opponent, then puts them in. Just to escape certain aerial resets, since it'll auto cross up if your opponent switches sides on you in some cases. So your aerial super is going to be a stable and headless combos, but again, we're going to go to all that later. There's also a level 3. Yeah, it's a level 3. Keep in mind it sends out projectiles in 6 different directions, I believe. So you can use this to if you see opponents in the air mashing normals, you can just throw it out and hit them. You got a certain distance. Yeah. One silly thing you can do with this, if you see a painwheel flying around, you can just throw out your level 3 and there's not really much you can do about it, since you can't armor through it, since it's technically a grab when it hits. But that's kind of gimmicky and risky and stuff, so now that we're at the basic stuff, it's time to go into how to actually play Miss Fortune. As I said several times, her normals aren't all that great since she lives up to a lot of stuff and doesn't have much priority and stuff like that. But again, you have your mobility, which I said earlier is key to playing Miss Fortune. I'm using this a lot to dance around your opponent and to get a hit to avoid getting hit. Essentially, you're spending most of your match playing cat and mouse with your opponent, looking for an opportunity to go in with your mobility and high speed and all that. If the opponent spends most of the time playing your game, then you win. If the opponent dares to think for a moment's notice that they are safe from you, then you win. If you lose, you still win. If the opponent also picks Fortune, nobody wins. But if nobody wins, you still win. So when you're playing Miss Fortune, you basically have 3 main goals in mind. First one, keep the opponent on the ground. With the fastest jab in the game and probably the best crouching light kick in the game, it's hard for anyone to challenge you. Unfortunately, keeping someone on the ground isn't all that easy all the time. Second goal, get in the air, get above your opponent. Jumping light kick is going to be one of your most used air normals. Hits down at a downward angle. This is very good for beating out your opponent when you're above them, but since it only hits this downward angle, if the opponent's at your level in the air or above you, then you're not hitting anything. You're going to lose out, and you should just be blocking. There's very little that a lot of characters can do to challenge you jumping light kick in the air. So again, that's why you want to get above them, and that's where you start your pressure. Your third goal is to get the opponent between you and your head when you have the head off. Headless Fortune has a much better pressure game and a bit of a better neutral game than her head-on counterpart. When you have the opponent in between your head, your opponent should be scared. There isn't much they can do. You have access to all sorts of mix-up and frame traps and stuff to keep them in place. So that's your third goal. So keep those 3 main goals in mind when you're playing. So now that we got our goals in mind, I'm going to go into the age-old question of how do I do a footsie? But before all that, I'm going to go into the different ways I like to start off my matches. So I have 4 different ways I like to start off my matches, sometimes depending on who I'm playing against, both character and player-wise. First is simply crouching light kick, or sometimes dash crouching light kick. Second, jump forward, jumping light kick. Third, jump back. This also becomes jump back toss off the head. And fourth, Fiber Uppercut, like a scumbag. The first option, which is your crouching light kick, is good when you think the opponent is going to start the match by pressing a button, especially when they dash and then press a button, since you have one of the faster and longer reaching lights in the game. So, as such, yeah. Don't expect to catch jump outs with this though, and if your opponent calls an assist and jumps over you, then you're probably going to get hit, so be careful when you use this. Second option is the jumping light kick. Yeah, that's pretty hot. Use that, wait for your opponent's gonna, if you think your opponent's gonna press a button at the start as well, if you think they're gonna jump into the air, since at that range and at that height, there's a likely possibility that you're gonna beat your opponent out with jumping light kick. But remember that jumping light kick is only 8-frame startup and you're also jumping, so if the opponent simply jabs, they can knock you out. Your third option is to jump back, or to jump back and toss up the head. There is very little that a lot of characters can do against this. I don't really think anyone has any solution for this, except for trying to catch your jump out. So be careful there, but if they try to go for air normal, try to knock you out in the air, you can't really do much. This is the main way I like to go if I want to start the match head off, but that's all depending on the matchup and all that. Your fourth option is to simply DP at the start. Yeah, you're DPing at the start. You know what the risks are. Hope the opponent doesn't block it. If you whiff, then you're still completely safe. If you hit, then you get a combo, so do what you gotta do. Be careful, some opponents will try to bait this though, of course, since it is a DP at the start and they know how, and most likely they'll realize how good Fiber Uppercut is, so again, be careful. Yeah, those are the 4 main ways I like to start my matches. So now we're gonna go into how to do a footsie. So when you're playing a neutral game with Fortune, I want you to keep these moves in mind. The crouching light kick, standing hard punch, jumping light kick, jumping heavy kick, your axe kicks, and your fiber uppercut. I'll explain all of what these normals are used for in the normal section, so just look back on there. But these are your furthest reaching normals, and also their specials double as movement options, so keep these in mind. You're going to be using these a lot. Again, check again on the normal section for when you should be using these. Now we finally get to talk about Headless Fortune. Alright, so with Headless Fortune, your main goal in the footsie game is to keep the head near your opponent, either centers between them or right in front of them. As long as they're close to it, you're good, hopefully. Use your headbutts to move around, zoom to move around, knock the head towards your opponent, kick the head towards your opponent a lot. The head is near you. Something that I like to do a lot is to zoom the head towards me, kick back my opponent. This also doubles as a sort of anti-air, but we can go into that a bit later. Just know they can move your head around with your kicks and other attacks, so take advantage of this. Also, in the footsie game, always be wary of where your head is at all times. One important thing to note that I'm not sure if a lot of people know about is that the head is always at the edge of the screen if you can't see it. See, moves closer. If you can't see the head, it's at one of the edges of the screen, and you should be knowing what edge of the screen the head is at. Keep that in mind, it will never go away. If you don't see it, it's still there, like that. This is also going to be important for combos, and I'll explain that later. But yeah, with your Headless Fortune, always be wary of where the head is. Use your headbutts, zooms, noms, slides, sneezes to keep the opponent in check. If the opponent's on the ground, keep them bombarded with headbutts, use it to move in. If the opponent's far away from the head, use slides to get in, cancel into something if you have to, use that to move in. But the thing I cannot emphasize more about Fortune's neutral game is her mobility. Again, when playing cat and mouse with your opponents, you're the senpai, opponent is the go high. They want to notice you, you don't want to be noticed. Move around, don't let them see you, go in when you think it's right. That was a terrible analogy, but you get the point, so yeah. It's a bit hard to show you all how to actually play the neutral game against a training dummy, so I have some example matches for you all. So since it's hard to show you what to do against a still training dummy, I'm gonna go into an actual match on net play for some random opponent and show you how it's done. So start off by going head off, since that's how I personally play most of the time. Using my ability to get around the opponent, get a hits. Using my resets, cross unders, all that. Oh, there's lag. Again, use some ability, get around the opponent, and it's pretty laggy. You zoomed on to keep them in check. Also your headbutt. Just always be wary of where their head is located. Alright, now we're going to talk about defense, and as you can expect, I'm going to say something about movement. Yeah, you get the idea by now. Move around, don't get hit. Yeah. So, we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about their Fiber Uppercuts. Fiber Uppercut is your DP, so it's invincible on startup some frames. Pay attention to the white hitboxes. This is your LK Fiber Upper. Medium kick. And hard kick. Slowed it down for you. The white boxes are when you're invincible and where you are invincible. So as you can see, HP Fiber Upper has the most invincibility, so this is your go-to reversal. So don't even bother using the LK and MK versions to get out of pressure, just use the HK version. And what makes Fiber Uppercut so great is that on hits, you get a free combo. It's pretty damn dumb. That was all off of reversal, meterless until I spent the bar at the end. So yeah, that's why Fiber Uppercut's so feared, and if you whiff, just doubles as a movement option. Can do it with her Gregor. Fortune can do it with her air super. The same with an air super can punish you for a block Fiber Uppercut in the air. But it is pretty hard to punish, especially if they're at max range of HK Fiber Upper and they're in the air. So keep that in mind. But again, keep in mind it's not. Just be careful when you throw it out. They can either call an assist to keep you locked down, or they can throw out a low to knock you out of the jump startup. But keep these options in mind. Again, don't always DP out. Learn to block, learn to push block correctly. Push block guard cancel is especially useful with Fiber Uppercut. You don't want the head anywhere near you when you're in the corner, especially since if you get hit along with the head, you're taking 150% damage from both the body and the head. But sometimes in situations where you're in the corner and the head's close by, it can sort of be a lifesaver. Sometimes when you throw out an unsafe move, you can use the head to provide a sort of frame trap. So you can throw out an unsafe move, have the head button, it'll keep you covered, opponent get hit, counter hit, and all that good stuff. One notable example is when Fortune does an aerial super enhanced blocked, which a lot of people are familiar with, like such. If I don't do anything at the head, she can punch easily. But if I do something like this, throw out a nom right before that, the opponent will get caught by the nom, they throw out a normal. But this is not completely safe, the opponent can just grab you easily. So don't rely on that too much, but a lot of people don't know about this. Alright, so we covered the neutral game and the defensive game, so now we get to go in the everyone's favorite section where they finally get to press buttons. Offense. Alright, so main way to work in, again, your mobility, as I said several times already, you get the idea. You're going to be using mainly your post to work your way in, with your crouching light kick, standing hard punch. You're also going to be using your jumping light kick, jumping heavy punch, jumping heavy kick, and sometimes your jumping light punch. There isn't much of a poke, but it's good. It doesn't always going to work. You can also do crouching light kick into standing medium kick and call an assist. As such, keep them in pressure, go back in. I can Fiber Uppercut my way back in. This is going to be extremely useful for your pressure game and offense game. and it's going to be your main way of getting back in if you can react to the push block. Again, this is very important. Learn to get this down, learn to react to the push block. If I do nothing, I'm just at +2, but I'm really far away from the opponent. Fiber Uppercut, I'm back in. You don't only have to use light kick Fiber Uppercut, you can also use your medium kick and your hard kick Fiber Upper, so push block, cross up. Beautiful. This character is dumb. So make sure to make good usage of stuff like that. And remember that your jab has a pretty decent range as well, so again, make use of that in your pressure, and don't just always autopilot into a block string. Sometimes you can go for stuff like tick grabs and stuff like that. So be sure to keep all of your options in mind. When you're approaching from the air, again, you're mainly going to be using your jumping light kick and your jumping heavy kick. Sometimes you're jumping hard punch, depends on what you want to use. So when you come down with a jumping light kick, you do things such as this. Keep the pressure on, get push blocked out, but you're positive, you're still very close to the opponent, +19. Keep in mind that you have 3 air options. You have 2 jumps and an air dash, so use this to vary your approach. And also, you're going in on your opponent. You're going for dash jump, cancel into air dash into another normal. Occasionally get push blocked out, so just be wary of this, but keep that in mind. If you use both your jumps and your air dash, you can't air dash cancel your first normal, so again, keep that in mind. So yeah, again, make use of mobility. Come in from unpredictable angles and at unpredictable times. Use your axe kick, cross up. It's beautiful. Alright, so when you're actually up close to your opponent, you have a lot of mix-up options. Your mix-up game isn't as good as Philia, but Fortune still kind of has the ability to just decide when she wants to get a hit. So we can do things like air dash, jumping light kick, axe kick. This crosses up sometimes. Again, depending on when you decide to do your jumping light punch, or if you air dash, or if you jump upwards or jump forwards, then sometimes it cross up, sometimes it won't. Like that cross up there, didn't cross up. Oh, I guess it does work on her now. I know on some characters it'll whiff on, especially if you have the head off. When you have the head off, your air dash height limit is higher, so can't exactly do this all too well. Or at least the jumping light kick won't hit, the axe kick will, so you can still cross up with the axe kick at least, but it's easier to react to. One thing that you'll be abusing a lot is that your Fiber Uppercut and your super jumps autocorrect in the air. So if I were to do a regular jump, go for an attack, Fortune's going to be facing the wrong way. If I were to do a super jump, she'll autocorrect in the air if I do it at the right distance. So stuff like that. And with the Fiber Uppercut, it'll do the same thing. Again, if I were to do a regular jump, then yeah. So keep that in mind. That'll be something you'll find yourself abusing a lot. Fortune also has a really nice fuzzy guard setup that she can do. I'm not going to explain fuzzy guards here, you can look that up somewhere else, but Fortune has the ability to do something like this. Normally a jumping light kick will whiff on a crouching opponent. But if you're coming with an aerial attack beforehand, continue the pressure, it'll act like they're stunning before because they got hit by the aerial attack, or blocked it more like. So this works. You're gonna make a lot of usage of this since you're basically doing a double overhead. But again, don't get too predictable and always do this fuzzy setup. It's also easy to get push blocked out of if they see the first hit coming in, push block accordingly. but it's something that's really nice to have. You'll be using it often, or you should be anyways. But of course, sometimes you can just go for jump in low, jump in, grab. This is also something I took from affiliate players, but something that Fortune can also do is instant air dash grab into a low. If the opponent will see you jumping, they'll think you're going to do an overhead, but you can just go for an empty jump grab, and then go for a low straight into that. And also go for grab, grab. One thing they used to see a lot in the previous version of Skullgirls from Fortune players was jumping light kick into jumping medium kick. You used to get all 3 hits from this from the minimum air dash height, but now you only get the jumping light kick and part of the jumping medium kick. It doesn't get all hits. You have to wait a bit from your jump into your air dash before you can get all 3 hits. So like if I wait a bit, I can get all 3 hits again. And that's a triple overhead. All of those hit high. Even the second hit of jumping medium kick. So it's really nice to have. It's easier to react to now though, since you have to wait longer before you can go into that. But one neat thing you can do is cancel the first hit of your jumping medium kick. So like, go straight into a low, double overhead into a low, or into a grab. This is easier to pull off on Headless since your air dash height limit is already higher, so you can basically do instant air dash into, yeah, still cancel it. It's a jumping medium kick and good stuff. Alright, so let's go into Headless pressure, since a lot of people don't know how to play Headless, and again, playing Headless Fortune isn't hard, but you definitely should learn it, since that's her main gimmick and that's part of what makes her such a good character. React to the push blocks, use your head accordingly, but the opponent can also push block the head, so you can kick your head towards the opponent, headbutt or slide into sneeze, then work your way in, stuff like that. Make good usage of this. One thing that I like to abuse is that if you're at super jump height, the opponent most likely can't see the head. You know the head is, hopefully they won't. So when you're at super jump height, use the head then, or you don't have to, but it's good to use. This opponent can't see. They're going to be afraid of when you're going to use the head at all times. Also, most importantly, don't be predictable with the head. Don't always do slide into nom. Mix it up a bit. Use the head at different times. Jump forward, back off, call the head. Stuff like that. Don't be predictable. Don't just sit back all day doing zoom nom. It works against some opponents, not against all of them. It's predictable. It won't exactly get you killed, but it won't exactly get you a hit if the opponent knows how to deal with the head. Also, protect your head. People are starting to learn better how to deal with the head. A lot of people are launching it now, doing moves that they should be doing on it to keep it locked down. Some people are letting it cool down on its own. Protect your head. Don't just let people well on it. You're still taking 50% unscaled damage, and if you get hit along the head, then you're probably talk about this considering I do this so often, but don't forget about your Rekka overhead follow-up. So like Rekka into high, back in the low, stuff like that. It says 14 frames for the Rekka overhead here, but I think it's counting the actual Rekka part. So I think it's still 25 frames like when she's headless. So again, if I But yeah, something to keep in mind, it's a thing. Make use of it, but don't be too predictable with it. It can be push blocked out easily before you can even get the overhead off. And again, people are starting to block it more and starting to look out for it. And it is pretty slow. That's almost half a second. So yeah, that's a thing. Can't believe I almost forgot to mention this, but standing hard kick on the head, best move in the game. This works as kind of a ghetto anti-air, but it definitely works better than the crouching medium punch. What this does is it keeps your opponent at bay when they come in on you, so they try to go for a jump in. Do this, you're basically completely safe since the head covers you. The head will knock them out of any attack that they're doing, and you can cancel into jumps, Fiber Uppercut, any specials, stuff like that. So, you're gonna be using this a lot. This is also one of your best ways to reposition the head, as you can see, since it's very far. And again, you can also zoom it back if you want to go at it again. So you're basically playing football, the good football, not like pandemic football. So yeah, make good usage of this. I also use this up a lot on incoming. So like if I kill the opponent, then I kick the head towards them. They have to block. They can't press any buttons. They can push block the head to throw you back out, but they're still in the air. And you can still just dash your way back in or Fiber Uppercut your way back in. So, like for example, she presses the button, she gets hit out, and she mashes again and dies. Yeah, it's beautiful. Use this quite often. Use this a lot. You don't get any crazy high-low, left-right mix-ups from this, but it's your safest way to deal with incoming opponents, especially if you don't have an assist to keep them pressured. Actually, I like to do this with hairball assist as a backup, so like I'll kick the head towards them. I'll kick the head towards them, call hairball, and they just basically have to block on the way down and while they're on the ground. So again, make good use of this on incoming, also in your neutral game. And explain the routes and theories behind them. So this is more of a combo theory section than an actual combo section. So again, I'm going to show off some combos, going to explain some stuff that you need to know for how these combos work and how to construct your own combo. So yeah, let's hit buttons. gonna want to go into a reset. So we're gonna double up into combo enders. It seems the current trend now is try to end your combo in a little burst bait, or I guess it's not exactly much of a bait, but to end your combo with undizzy. That's what a lot of people seem to be doing to keep their opponent from pressing buttons. So we're gonna mess with that a bit. So here's then you're free to get another hit on them, but a lot of people, or at least a lot of good players, won't burst there. So, but again, it keeps them from pressing buttons on the way down, and so they'll still be able to tech out when they hit the ground, but that's when we end your combo. Still in a good position, opponent's still in the corner. If they tech roll forward, they're just going to be right in front of you. If they don't tech, you have a lot of time to go in. If they tech backwards, then they're still in the corner. So if you saved up your OTG, you basically get an untechable knockdown. But if you already used up your OTG, then the opponent can tech out. But yeah, that's another nice way to end combos. But keep in mind that if you go for the slide knockdown with jumping, hard kick, X kick, then your opponent still maintains the undizzy that they have. So yeah, they still keep the undizzy when they rake up, so keep that in mind. But it's still a very useful way to end your combos if you save up your OTG. Just be sure not to trigger IPS. I just realized there were a lot. Yeah, like I have to just Cthulhu. I realized throughout a lot of this guy I said, keep that in mind a lot. So keep that in mind. jumping medium kick cancel was using a lot of those resets, basically all of them. So yeah, get that down. Just canceling the first hit of jumping medium kick into jumping heavy kick. Sometimes jumping hard punch, but that won't work if you have the head on. I guess I'll just show off a bit more. Keep in mind that for a lot of those resets, especially the cross unders where the opponent ends up high in the air, the opponent can simply press a button on the way down, but if you expect that, you can just throw out a Fiber Uppercut on the way down and hit them, but that's a bit risky. Opponent can also throw out aerial supers if they have them, so as usual, keep that in mind. But yeah, they're still very good resets, especially once they're very low to the ground. Just be careful of the opponent jumping out or throwing out a normal or supers. Can I just play Fortune with the head on? Do I have to learn how to play her head off? To which I say, why would you only play half a character? So Fortune's main gimmick is that she has the ability to take her head off since she's a puppet character. And this is a really strong ability. It's part of what makes her such a strong character. You can succeed not learning head off Fortune, but there really isn't a good reason to do so. Like, there are some successful Fortune players like Oda Toluda who only plays head on, and he does very, very well. I'd say he's one of the best Fortunes out there. But yeah, Headless Fortune isn't all that hard. Yes, it's a puppet character. You're not exactly controlling two characters. You're only using one button to control the head. It's not that hard. All you have to worry about is knowing the position of the head, and he knows always going to be at the corner of the screen if you don't see it. So it's very easy to control her, really. It doesn't take all that much work to learn her. And basically every character in Skullgirls is easy. Like, she's no Carl, she's no Eddie. So yeah, I highly suggest you learn Headless Fortune. It's not like you're going to die if you don't learn her, but it's highly recommended since you want to take full advantage of what your character has to offer. And again, that's the main gimmick of the character. You kind of don't want that to go to waste. So yeah. Alright, with that said, let me go to the differences between head-on and Headless Fortune, besides the moves, of course. So if I had to explain it, I'd say head-on Fortune has higher damage, more variety in her resets, and easier setups. And she also uses less meter for damage. Headless Fortune, on the other hand, has quite a bit better neutral game, since she has a head to control the ground space. And she spends more meter for about the same amount of damage. Like, if she wants to get as much damage as head on Fortune, she has to spend about 2 bars, whereas head on Fortune has to spend only 1 bar for about 8k. This Headless Fortune has to spend 2 bars for about 7.5k, something like that. So you're gonna have to spend more meter for your damage, but you still build meter quite well with both modes. But again, Headless Fortune, better neutral, better pressure game. Her resets aren't exactly as varied, but I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. You still have a great high-low game, you still have a great left-right game, pressure game, all that. So again, I highly suggest you learn Headless Fortune. It'll take you very far. If I had to say though, overall, Headless Fortune is better, even with all the nerfs, especially the air dash change. Headless Fortune is still better than Head-on Fortune, I'd say. So, and also another question a lot of people like to ask me, should I just start my matches head off straight up? That's depending on the matchup, which I'll include the link to of what I think of the matchups versus each character. But you can if you want to, I guess. Some matchups is better to go head off, some matchups is better to go head on. Very few though. But again, like I said in the matchup startup, if you want to, just jump back, throw off the head. That's the easiest way to start off and safest way to start off. If you want to go that route, go ahead. You don't have to start every match off taking the head off straight up. don't have to start every match with the head-on straight up, so it's just up to your preference in the matchup. Also, depending on how well which I say slap yourself. This is this is a team game. Though you can pick one character, two characters, or three characters, it is highly advised that you go with a team. Basically, a character with an assist, like Fortune with updo, Seracopter, whatnot, is better than Fortune without an assist. Straight up. You have more options, though you lose out on damage and health. Actually, you don't even lose out on health, you have a completely different character, just in case Fortune dies, so teams have more effective health than solo characters, so that's not even a main point anymore. But yeah, go with a team, get a lot more options. It's much easier for you to get a hit. Solo Fortune's only viable because for head off, so if you're going to play Solo Fortune, at least learn how to play your head off. But yeah, play a team. Fortune can really go in any order on a team. She can be your point character, she can be your second, she can be your anchor. She's actually good at anchor because she's basically the only character who is viable as a solo because she has her head off mechanics to cover for her. But again, it's not perfect. It's not, her head is not another assist. It's not another character. It's just something extra that's there. It helps to control space, which is really important for her. It's the only reason she can go solo. I know it may be a little bit silly for me to be saying this since I got 4th place at EVO playing Solo Fortune. I didn't exactly play Solo Fortune by choice, exactly. I was stuck on Xbox, so I had the vanilla version of Skullgirls for 8 months longer than the PS3 players. And I wanted to learn Philia, but vanilla Philia was quite a bit different from SDE Philia, and I didn't have time to learn her and get her down and all that, so that was part of the reason why I went solo. And I didn't want to use double because I don't think double's all that fun, and my double definitely wouldn't have been ready if I played her at EVO. So those are my reasons for going solo. And again, in the past couple months I have been playing solo, but that's because I was on pad. My pad Philia is garbage, even worse than my stick Philia. My stick Philia is pretty garbage, but nowhere near as bad as my pad Philia. But yeah, don't play solo, it's bad for you. Now I guess for actual characters to put on your team if you go with Fortune, typical DP assist, updo, pillar, yeah. DP assist will take you far. Don't become over reliant on them, that's just general advice. Because you don't want to get happy birthday because you call out your DP randomly and then realize, oh wait, I don't know how to block myself, so I'm getting hit along with my assist and now I'm dead. So yeah, for other assist options, I go more with pressure assist, like Seracopter. This is probably the best assist for Fortune, as proven by El Toluda. It's just amazing for her. It gives her a lot of pressure, knocks the head forward, so we can do silly things like, yeah, that's pretty beautiful. So, and again, pressure, knocks them to the corner, which is where you want them to, knocks the head along with it, so yeah, it's pretty perfect. Another thing, which is a godsend, like her grab is hard to combo off of mid-screen, since you have to do all this stuff. Yeah, I even dropped it there. So it's hard to combo off a grab mid-screen, and you have to use meter for it, so that's not exactly all that nice. But with Seracopter, this I'd say something like Hornet Bomber. I used to run HK Hairball and Philia, but I recently switched to Updo since I'm trying to pick up Cerebella for Seracopter. Bella as well, since it covers the airspace above Fortune, which is really important for her since Fortune has a poor air-to-air game, so you want to control the space above you. Item drop as well keeps opponent pressured from its ranges. I almost said from full screen, but I forgot it got nerfed, so yeah. As for assist options for Fortune herself, HK Fiber Upper, you don't use anything else. You can use your standing medium kick to get a lockdown. It's not that great. It's something, but just go with Fiber Upper. It's a DP. It's harder to combo off of afterwards than Updo or Napalm Pillar, but it's a DP. Knocks your opponent away. Good stuff. Some characters can convert off it easier than others, but yeah. You can also use Zoom as an assist and it autocorrects, but it's also pretty eh. I guess you can make some uses of it, but some people have the idea of using standing heavy kick as an assist. Hits 3 times, so it's also pretty decent lockdown assist. This is also good assist to use, but the main reason I don't like it is that if Fortune has to head off, this is now your assist. So be careful when you're using standing heavy kick or anything that uses that's only head on as an assist, as it becomes useless. Like if you use standing medium punch for a lockdown and for the chip damage that it does, head comes off, simply becomes this, and it's not all that great. So yeah, HK Fiber Upper, use that. So this may seem weird to put in the guide about Fortune, but I'm going to put in ways to play against Fortune. So this will help you as a Fortune player, since you know what to avoid, what to look out for, what the opponent is going to do to try to keep you tame. So rule number 1, limit Fortune's mobility. You want to keep her from moving, you want to keep her from getting above you, and also I guess that segues into rule number 2, get above her. Again, she doesn't have a great air-to-air game, doesn't have a great way to control the space above her, except for Fiber Upper, but that's punishable. If you block it, of course, since it is a deep. So Fiber Upper willingly, or more like bait the Fiber Upper, know how to punish it, learn how your team could punish it. So you don't need exactly a wide area hitting assist. You can use something like another DP to punish her and get a combo off of that. So yeah, a lot of things work for baiting the Fiber Upper. You know the Fortune player is going to do it, so know how to block it, know when to look out for it, because it's going to be used a lot. For dealing with Headless Fortune, since that's where a lot of people struggle, learn how to deal with the head. Fortune herself, she's gonna headbutt her way back in if she gets pressure again. So again, I'm still locked down. She can move her way back in for Fiber Uppercut and all that stuff. So again, push block the head, not Fortune. See how far it pushes her back away, do that. As the Fortune player yourself, what this means is that you should not be predictable with your pressure strings. Don't always headbutt in the same place. Use the head at unpredictable times. Vary the length of your block strings and all that, so the opponent doesn't get an easy push block against the head against you. Also, go for frame traps if you need. Do something unsafe or that seems unsafe, and then use the head to catch the opponent when they're trying to press a button against you. Frame traps are really nice in Fortune's game when the opponent doesn't push block you away, so use those. Use it as a bait, that's what I mean. So yeah. So a problem that a lot of people have with dealing with Headless Fortune is dealing with full screen headless pressure. A lot of Fortunes, myself included, will do this tactic where they just super jump all day, hanging back and doing zoom nom. They do this because it's a really effective tactic, to be honest. It catches a lot of people, keeps the opponent block stun so Fortune can work her way in unless the opponent push blocks, but it's a really effective tactic. This has led to a lot of people asking me if Zoom or Nom or any of Fortune's attacks hit low. No, they all hit mid, so you can block them high or low. But keep in mind that you should not up back when dealing with the head on the ground. Example, block the Zoom low and held up back, and I got caught by Nom. Nom will catch you at a jump startup, so that's why a lot of people get hit by it, and that's why they all think it's so low. Don't do that, just block it regularly. Stand blocking it, and yeah. When Fortune uses a head attack, if it's on hit or on block, it goes on the cooldown period, and of course if it's blocked, it goes on a longer cooldown period. I'm not exactly sure what the times are, or the cooldown times are for each attack. A tactic that I recommend for a lot of people is, if Fortune is bombarding you from far away with head attacks, just simply let it go on cooldown. If you hit the head, it's going to come off cooldown no matter how long it is. Another thing to keep in mind is that when Fortune uses her normal head attacks into a special head attack, for example, Zoom Nom, the cooldown stack. So, say Zoom was a second long cooldown and Nom is a second long cooldown. If she uses Zoom Nom, or Zoom cancel into Nom, it's going to go on a cooldown period of 2 seconds. That's quite a bit of time to work your way in, so keep that in mind. If the head is on a long cooldown period, then just let it stay on cooldown, work your way in. She doesn't have the head to protect her during that time period. But of course, be careful. Always know where the head is, know when it's off cooldown. Again, if the Fortune is going to sit back doing this all day, then just punish the head if you have to. Do something like, yeah, just punish the head. She's not going to protect it. That's free damage for you. It's 50%, but it's all unscaled, so just get your free hits in when you can. But of course, be wary that this throws the head off of cooldown, so you're going to have to deal with it again. So just block it again, let it go on cooldown, work your way in, or just put more damage on it. With that in mind, while super jumping all day, when the opponent can't see your head, and just doing Zoom Nom or headbutt, sneeze, whatever, is an effective tactic. Be sure you're protecting your head. Don't die just because you jumped back all day, throwing out moves. Just protect the head, got free damage all day, and you just end up dying from chip damage, stuff like that. You won't die from the head being attacked itself, but of course, if you have no health left and the opponent just throws out a super or a special and you get hit, getting chipped out, and you're dead. So don't let that happen, please, or I'll smack you. So yeah, that's about it for my Fortune guide. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any additional questions, be sure to ask in the comments below. Hope it wasn't too bad. Hope you learned a lot again. I'd like to thank Viro and Ichigai for the pictures on the sides. I'll link you to their pages in the description below. Thank you for whoever made the Taokaka dance avatar, because that's pretty nice. There were some things I wasn't able to cover, especially matchups. I'll provide a written description of matchups or what I personally think of them in a link in the description. Keep in mind that I haven't really collaborated with a lot of other people on these matchups, or Fortune players more like, but so these are basically just my opinions on how the matchups go. So take them with a grain of salt. But yeah, it's something, I guess. If anyone else wants to help out, just let me know, because I kind of need someone else to talk to about this, especially if you're a good Fortune player. Get Alex where you at, World Gem where you at, Toledo where you at. But yeah, check out my video, or check out my YouTube channel for any additional videos, like my combo video. I had another reset video up there, and also other sets that I run with other people. You can learn a lot from those, hopefully. And so, yeah, hope you enjoyed the guide. Hope the music was nice. Hope you could hear me and understand me. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Stay braced, stay breezy. Yeah, pick Fortune.